Okay, in the last section of this chapter on Tier 2 level connection, we covered having conversations with your spouse when it comes to alignments and really getting on the same page. Some of the best times I've had with my wife in my own marriage have come out of this place where we work to feel unified and together on areas of life that are most important to us. Well, in this section of your chapter on Tier 2 connections, we're going to take a look at talking through emotions and hurts. So to be really pinpointed in using our structure, this is a Tier 2 hurt lane connection. So what does that even mean? To help frame this kind of conversation, I want you to go ahead and take a look at this video clip of a couple having a conversation with one another. After you watch, you'll begin to understand really quickly what I mean by this specific type of conversation.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
No, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. Ow. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on?
Okay, you might be laughing a little after watching that video. And if you are, it's probably because you found yourself in a similar interaction with your spouse. In simple terms, the wife is looking for empathy and to be heard, while the husband is trying to fix and solve. Now, what makes this a Tier 2 connection is that the wife isn't starting a conflict. She's just looking to talk about herself. And what makes this a hurt lane conversation is that she isn't looking for a solution or to hear about what her husband's thoughts are on a particular issue. She's just simply looking to share how she feels. These two things make this a Tier 2 hurt lane conversation. But if you notice, there are some shifts that happen, and this couple breaks a few of our rules of engagement. First, the husband shifts from hurt lane into problem solution lane when he tries to convince her to just get the nail out of her head. Second, the wife shifts from Tier 2 into Tier 3 conflict when she gets frustrated at him for not listening. She actually says, "You always do this. You always try to fix things when all I need you to do is just listen." You see, in there, she's saying that she has a narrative about him, that he never listens to her and he just tries to fix and invalidate her. Anyway, the focal point of this section isn't to cover how couples break the rules of conflict, but it's worth noting how quick and easy it is for a couple to lose their way if they aren't really aware of the kind of conversation that they're trying to have. So that's what a Tier 2 hurt lane conversation looks like. Now, let me cover why these are so important, and really important enough for us to dedicate an entire tier and lane just for them. You see, these kinds of conversations can be incredibly healing and restorative for a marriage. The video, even though it's meant to be comical, shows how meaningful it is for the wife when she just feels heard, listened to, and empathized with. That's the kind of connection and equity that we want to be able to capture with these types of conversations. And the reason why is because sometimes, a lot of times, we experience suffering and confusions in our life. We experience pain, and a lot of times we're not even sure why. Having these kinds of conversations between husband and wife goes a long way towards helping one another to figure out why we feel the way that we do, but also to not feel so alone in the suffering as well. The video is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but if you replace the nail with loss or depression or some kind of frustration, then you can begin to see how relevant and common that kind of conversation can be. How we engage and take advantage of these types of conversations is a critical part of communicating well and deeply in marriage. And not only because it adds depth and intimacy to a marriage, but also because it helps to train our muscles for the more difficult tier 3 level conflicts. I mean, imagine if the nail in this woman's head was there because of something that her husband did. So not only is she having to talk through the pain, but that pain is there because of him. Let's say the nail is an affair. The wife has to share about her pain, but that pain is a direct result of his actions. Now, if this husband had a hard time sitting empathetically with his wife at that tier 2 level when it wasn't his fault, how much of a harder time would he have when it is his fault and the conversation moves to a tier 3 level conflict? So much of what we learn here in this section is, if anything, good practice and preparation for the much more difficult tier 3 work that we'll get into the next and the last few chapters. Okay, that's enough for my pitch on why tier 2 hurt lane conversations are so important. In the next and last section of this chapter, I'll break up our work into 2 areas. One set of steps for pitchers when you're the one needing to share your hurts, and one set for catchers when you're the one listening to your spouse as they share their hurts with you.